It's the end of the day with Ray. Hello, my friends. Okay, in that digital intersection, it's none other than Ed McLaughlin. Ed, how are you doing?
Doing wonderful, Ray.
I got to tell you, Ed, last time I had you on, people said, hey, is there a cat behind, Ed's head there? That was his chair. So he's got a new office, by the way. So, Ed, you just moved.
I didn't want to wear my vest today. I didn't want to have that cat wrapped around my neck.
That was kind of funny. But, Ed, you just moved from Pennsylvania down there to South Carolina, right?
I'm now officially a Southerner. Can't you tell by the way I'm talking?
All right. He's even got the golf attire on in the middle of winter. So I got to tell you, how do you like it so far?
So far, so good.
All right. I was talking to him this morning. He said he's got a whole lot of boxes to unpack. But anyway, me and Ed wanted to get together today. We're going to talk about 5G. And 5G is really interesting in the implications of 5G. We're going to hit on some 30,000-foot level stuff. But I got to tell you, Ed, in 1991, we had 2G. And we were transmitting like 0.1 megabytes per second. We went to 3G and 4G. 4G gave us the ability to move 15 megabytes per second. Well, 5G, they say we're going to be able to move 10 gigabytes. And we all know that a megabyte's bigger than a gigabyte. That's just a whole lot of change in moving information and technology.
Well, the top potential of 5G is actually 20 gigabytes. But it all depends on how it's going to get configured. I don't think the really important aspect of 5G, yes, it's faster internet, which means information can move a lot faster. There's more processing, etc. But 5G as a technology by itself, as much as is probably still pretty revolutionary.
Sure.
It's the enablement that comes with it. And all the other things that 5G is going to enable really becomes a disruptor. And while it's disrupted in its own right, the real disruption comes when MEC technology, multi-access edge computing, really starts to mature, or the reality of network splitting occurs, to where you can have a cloud within a cloud within a cloud that then helps you pinpoint specifically exactly what your applications are going to be, which helps you process at the edge. We're going to go from a mobile work environment to a virtually nomadic work environment almost overnight.
I think you need to explain that a little bit, because a lot of people are struggling with the, officeless environment. So the workers are actually moving into non-office environments to do work. And
well, they're already starting to work from home more. There's people have virtual offices. There's many companies that just simply work in different environments. They're not investing in real estate anymore.
Sure.
They're investing in their time. But you're going to literally be walking down the street and have access to just about anything you want to have access to.
Which is amazing. I think a lot of it,
actually be able to do much of the actual computing at that point. So virtual reality is going to be a real part of our life when things get inserted into what we're doing right around us. The fact that self-driving cars, we talk about how difficult it will be. Well, once we do the network splitting, you're going to be able to
no latency.
Focus on developing latency specific type networks that will virtually eliminate latency, so that virtual cars or self-driving cars will be a reality. And all this is going to come about because of the enablement of 5G. More importantly than that, all this is going to begin to move the work processes much like it did with 4G, but at a more accelerated rate. So the impact on print is going to be significant. Now, that doesn't mean that the content that we print is going to be less, or that there'll be less content.
It's going to be disseminated different.
There's going to be more. It's just going to be in a different format. When we talked a little bit earlier about the impact of the PDF. When the PDF came about, some people actually thought it would have a negative impact on print. Well, it had a positive impact on print, because we start picking up many of the pages that were previously printed on reader printers for micrographics, all of a sudden the film migrated to the computer, and at that point, the printer and the copier became the output device, not the reader printer.
Yep.
And we benefited from that same format impacting word processing, so we started to become the typewriter. So the typewriter went away with the advent of that type of technology, and we benefited from it. Now we're having the reverse effect. The mobility is having an impact on the process, and the importance of paper moving throughout the environment to solve a problem, to sign a document, to see something.
It's kind of all going away.
It's going to be even less than it is today.
Yeah.
And it'll be accelerated to the point where we'll actually be able to do calculations at the edge, computing at the edge, and it's going to be a whole different world. As a consequence, we'll have more content, but less need to transport it via paper.
Well, I'm even thinking that a lot of the documents that we see today have been we've already transformed them to glass, versus what I'm talking to you on here, or my cell phone, or my smartphone. So, I think 5G puts the document in front of us without any paper, without any glass. And I think, 5G allows us to...
And we can do more with it.
Yeah, I mean, there's just going to be so much more.
We can access more pieces of information. We can record it. We can see it. We can transmit it. We can sign it. We can validate different aspects of it. And no matter where we are at any given time, day or night, around the world, with lightning speed.
Do you believe that it was 4G? It was 4G that really, in my mind, that created as a service models for software and for all of these things. So we're able to put them in the cloud now and get them when we need them, kind of thing, because we can get them at a faster speed. So what does 5G create as new as a service models? And I think that's the question. And it's, in my world, it's only by your imagination what's limited. But it seems to me that we built this huge infrastructure. It won't really take effect for most part, probably till 2025. But we have a wireless system that can transmit 20 gigabytes per second. That just changes a lot. I mean, I could see the end of the day with Ray, where I'm standing on your desk in a hologram doing my video. I guess the good news with that, you're going to find out I'm wearing slippers and shorts when I do these things. But, if you think about what 4G did to Blockbuster, it wasn't really Netflix that did away with Blockbuster. It was really the 4G capabilities that Netflix took advantage of and Blockbuster didn't. And it allowed them to where we could, stream our videos, where we could, get video live instead of having to go to a store and buy it. So.
Well, a lot of that it did come with 4G. They talked about it with 4G, but the reality is that we really needed the Wi-Fi to get there. So 4G enabled us to see certain types of things to become more mobile, but the actual streaming promises and things that were initially thought to be something we're going to walk around looking at videos. Yes, you can, but it's not really the quality that you want. Now it's going to be that and then some. I mean, you'll have more than bandwidth to spare.
Sure. Well, the fact that we're sitting here talking on Zoom's come a long way, from the old days of trying to communicate through the computer. So it's very, very interesting stuff, to say the least.
The whole idea of this, what I mentioned before about MEC, the multi-edge computing system, that originally was called mobile computing system. And it was a result of a consortium of a lot of the technology companies, Huawei, Microsoft, and a number of others. They got together and said, we're going to be able to we want to compute at the edge of the network. It never really developed that way. And after a while, they realized, wait a minute, this isn't mobile. This is the multi-access. The whole key point here is we can have multiple outputs and multiple people access at the edge. So we'll be able to process faster, closer to the point of need, where in the traditional cloud today, you're computing in the background.
Sure.
And moving it out. Well, you'll have that, you'll have the ability to work more at the edge. So as the edge develops more, the work processes will develop and go more to the edge. And as it does, the work processes are going to change. The need to print it out will not be eliminated. I mean, I want to emphasize this. We're not going to see the end of print, but we're going to see another evolution of print.
Sure.
We're already beginning to see that the first inflection point, we started to drop 1% or 2% per year. Now we're seeing that we're dropping 2 to 3% or more per year. And pretty soon it's going to be dropping more than that. Within the next 5 years, it will not be outrageous to think about the volume of pages actually dropping. as much
Absolutely.
as 10% a year. That's going to get pretty serious at that point in time. And what will paper be used for in the office? I'm talking about. I'm not talking about production or
Sure.
industrial print. That's an entirely different type of conversation. But in the office, where we live, that's going to change dramatically.
Drastically, I would agree with that.
And the value of it's going to change dramatically. So we've got to become more efficient in what we do. We have to look for other ways for us to get more profit out of what we're doing. That means becoming
more services,
elevating the level of efficiency well beyond where it is today.
Sure.
We need to disrupt the business model that we have in place and we hold sacred. It's really not going to apply in another 4 or 5 years. It's already over 30 years old.
Yeah, I agree 100%. We need some changes. Well, there's good news with 5G because it is wireless, so you have to have these basically antenna hubs that push that information around. So we'll see this, and they're called DAS, by the way, DAS, and that simply stands for Distributed Antenna Systems. But these distributed antenna systems, we're going to see them in furniture. You know, I was reading something where they're trying to put them in telephone poles of the future. So cities will have them all over the place, so we can, keep the frequency going, I guess, if you will. But there's more devices. There's probably more services involved with that. But dealers have to pay attention.
Anyways, I mean, there's going to be a number of different thoughts on architecture of the 5G network, and it's interesting. Not really particularly relevant as far as I'm concerned. What's really relevant is what happens to the work process. How does business benefit from it, and what other technologies are going to be enabled because we have this capability and this increased bandwidth, and what's going to do to improve how we work.
Yep.
And that's going to change how we do things,
Absolutely.
which means the value that we see being print today is not going to have the same value. But the content and managing the content will be even more challenging.
And it always has value.
It's really always been about the content.
Yeah.
We think of it as being paper, but in reality, we've been the masters of the unstructured data in an organization, and we've been the best conduit for that unstructured data for decades. But very soon, that unstructured data, and actually it's already taken place, that unstructured data will be able to be sliced and diced in so many different better ways than paper, and ultimately somehow, some way, it might find its way to paper, but the purpose of it's going to be a lot different than what it is today.
Well, I got to tell you, Ed, I remember having a 5G conversation with you like 6 years ago. So you were way ahead of the curve on this.
Yeah.
And I also, I wonder inside the imaging channel, especially with the OEMs, where are they at with this? What are they talking about? How do they see 5G in the future? Or are they just sitting back waiting for everything to happen and then they try to react to it? But hopefully...
Well, this is going to happen so fast that we try to react to it after it happens. It'll be too
in
late.
trouble. So, I think that's the purpose of the conversation today. Hopefully people say, hey, 5G, let's really start paying attention to this. I know they can reach out to you. I'm by no means an expert on 5G. I just know it's really, really fast. And a gigabyte's bigger than a megabyte. But it will create a whole lot of opportunities for the imaginative. And it will also bring to bear a whole different means to people's desired outcomes. And I think that's really what it's about. People desire...
I don't think this is not an oh my God, this is the end of the world conversation. I think the opportunity
it could be huge.
for greater content is even more powerful than what we're experiencing today.
Absolutely.
And more profitable, more opportunity, and there'll be more content. If you go back to 1998, when if you said to somebody, you're not going to use film and a camera anymore, you would have thought someone's crazy.
Yep.
But today, the whole idea of having film and camera, does it mean we're going to have less pictures than we had back when we had film and the camera?
No, we got a whole lot more.
We have more.
Yeah, we have a whole lot
more. If you bet the farm on silver halide, you lost your ass.
Yep. No, I agree. It is the future is definitely wide open to exploration for those that can imagine something different. Well, Ed, I got to...
Technologies are already there. There's all sorts of things that we can do. We have to learn how to monetize it, how to become experts in helping people process the information they need. That really has been our job.
Well, we got to stop doing this. We got to stop saying that'll never happen. Because we all know this, Ed. We all know this. Status quo's the killer of all that'll be invented. Don't get stuck in status quo. Ed, I'll see you next time on the end of the day with Ray.
Take care, buddy.
All right, man. See y'all later.